Hey guys and gals, hey guys and gals, what is good? What is good today? How you doing? How are you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Every single one of you. Beautiful, intelligent, 120 plus IQ people. Let's go. You know I love it. I love it when you show up. Let's go. The views on the last video, impressive. Where are you guys coming from? It doesn't matter because I love it. Thank you for finding the content here on Twitch and also on YouTube. Appreciate it so much. Now quickly gonna do some mod stuff. I have to make sure everything's good here. Here on Twitch. Looks good. Sounds good. This is great. Let's drop in the yays. All right, we're continuing the content, guys and gals, because why not? Let's learn and grow. We are learning C++. It's a beautiful language. It truly is. It truly is. All right, again, it's great to have you guys and gals. Quick shouty outies goes out to. Am I in the right document? Let's see. Bear with me, guys and gals. This may be it. I don't know. Just kind of doing chat stuff quickly, and then I'll do some shout outs, and we will get going. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be getting into functions today. I know I've brought up the word a few times. Didn't really talk about it. That's because I was holding off until today. Now, I got too many documents going on here, guys. I'm just trying to figure out which one's which. Here we go. I found it. Okay, shouty outies to the latest supporters here. Well, shout outs to those on Twitch. Those of you on YouTube, I will show you out when you hit the follow button on YouTube. Again, YouTube doesn't really share everybody. I think maybe it's a private public namespace thing. I don't know. Don't ask me. But here, Twitch, I appreciate the support on Twitch. Every single one of you beautiful, intelligent people. Nicole Trey 66. Bart number 1. Jim Jam 1238. Kazert 20. That's KHSert 20. And Gavin 555. Lastly, I love this one. Kamikaze. All right, let's go. Kamikaze ML. Okay. I want you to stick around. Don't go into kamikaze mode. Okay. It's great to have you. Appreciate every single one of you beautiful people. Johnny WhiskeyTango coding. I appreciate yous. That's right, I do. Okay. It's time to learn. Let's get into this, guys and gals. Let's get into this. So, again, I'm kind of avoiding recapping because recapping kind of it just makes things longer. How do I explain this? Right? If I do the recapping, then it's going to take me forever to get through the course outline, guys. You understand? Right? Because that's just time, right? And we want to keep the course and the program going. We want to keep the train going. You know what I mean? Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Yes, you do, right? So we're going to keep the train going. If you need to review, guys, gals, just like I've done it and I loved it. I didn't mind doing it. Review, studying. I mean, it's, just, I don't know. It's exciting. It is exciting. Come on. It's exciting. It really is. So if you need to review, recap, I recommend, just go back a video, or maybe you could take notes throughout the videos. Maybe you want to kind of pause, play each video and just kind of practice as you go along through the video. That works as well. Just little ideas, however you want to do it. I recommend, there are different IDEs out there. What is an IDE? Well, an IDE is what I'm using here. Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, community version. It's free, guys. They're great. I call this the $5,000 software. You basically get to drive their Lamborghini for free, guys. For free. Because, the industry, they need C++ coders, okay? There's too many Python coders. They want coders that do the harder stuff, okay? They got enough of the, right? I believe in you. Push through this, guys and gals. You can do this. It does eventually get more advanced. It truly does. But once you get the basics and the foundation and the semantics and the syntax and the understanding of what's happening under the hood and memory and all that, it gets a lot easier. It really does. And again, repetition's good. You gotta, grind, keep practicing, stay on top of it, right? It's okay to take breaks once in a while. Give yourself a break, right? Let your brain absorb the information. Again, make sure you review, study, morning, night, evening, whenever you want to do it. That is up to you. But again, here to support you. I believe in every single one of you. You can do this. You can do this. Let's go. Okay, functions. Functions. All right, what are functions? Oh, right, I needed to explain what's an IDE. Okay. What is an IDE? Programming. Integrated Development Environment. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here's a list. You got Visual Studio, you got Visual Studio Code, you got Eclipse, you got IntelliJ IDEA, NetBeans, PyCharm, Atom, Idle. There's so many more. Man, there's a lot out there. Code Blocks is one I've used before. JetBrains, I think, if I remember. I don't know. Oh, there's one called Android Studio. Must be dedicated to just Android. But anyways, if you choose to use Visual Studio, make sure you get the community version. I do have a video, I believe, on YouTubes on how to set up and install Visual Studio. I hope I do. If not, let me know. Yell at me. Well, don't literally yell at me. Just figuratively speaking here, guys and gals. Figuratively speaking. Right? Just let me know in comments down below. I usually do respond. So yeah, and I'll do one. I will do's oneses. Do's the oneses. Okay? So, an integrated development environment is a software application that helps programmers develop software code efficiently. It increases developer productivity by combining gonna try to read by combining capabilities such as software editing, building, testing, and packaging in an easy to use application. Really is. So right now you can do console applications with C++. Okay. Not to make anything harder, eventually I'm going to be getting into OpenGL stuff. You kind of need that with C++. But if you kind of do it, it's up to you. I was doing the C++ grind for quite a while, and then I eventually started doing the C# grind because I wanted something like a visual, like a GUI, a graphical user interface. I wanted to be able to make the magic happen. I wanted to see shapes and stuff turning and twisting and doing whatever, right? I wanted to see all that. So I ended up kind of motioning myself towards C# and then SFML, I believe, is what I did. OpenGL is what I want to get into because I want to kind of just stick with the C++ language for right now anyways. Maybe I'll get back to C#. It's hard to say, but I was using the Unity application as well. Again, the guys at Unity, there's a lot of good support. They have the asset store. They have their own live streams on Twitch as well. You can follow Unity. So that's a great application software. You could do 2D and 3D software or gaming applications, which is awesome. It's great. I was kind of missing C++, so I'm back here, and I decided I am going to get back into teaching because that's what I want to do. I want to teach and help you guys learn and grow. Hopefully I can help. Hopefully you can learn from me, from this guy, Johnny. Appreciate you being here. I really, truly mean that. All right, now let's do this. Hang on. Just one quick sec. All right, guys and gals, I am back. Apologies for that. I just had to get something done. Just a distraction, and so that I could focus. It was more for you guys, so that I could focus on the task of providing you some great learning instruction. That's the goal. All right, let's go. The anatomy of a C program. Here we go. Functions. Okay. What is a function, right? Let's. I know I have these definitions. I do. I don't want to waste a lot of time looking for it. In C++, I'll just find something really quick here. I don't need an example. We're going to do a few. A function is a block of code. Anytime you guys and gals hear blocks, what is a block? What do they mean by block, right? So what they really mean is, let me just get rid of all this. Okay, this is kind of what we did last time. Just want to clear up some screen here. Do I need anything essentially here? Not really. Okay. All right, so a block of code, and I'm going to do it right here because you can do this. You can create another scope, if you will. So anything you type in between the curly brackets, the curly brackets actually creates a block of code. Okay, so this is kind of like adding an extra scope, and you can do this. So I'll just show you. I'm inside a I don't know how I would explain this. Inside another, I don't know, we'll just call it a block of code. Sure, it's a block. I think of a block anytime I use curly brackets. I guess I think of it as a block of code. Okay, so curly brackets have like a lot of purpose, if you will. You'll see this statement that I have here, end of program, out of scope. What does that mean, right? What it means is, right, so we've talked about int main, and I've mentioned that it's a function. We haven't really described the definition of it. I will give you a definition. I'll finish that up. I've talked in the past in prior videos about int main. I've mentioned that it's a function, and yes, it is. Int main is actually a special case. Okay. I do need to find my notes here. Let's see. What am I looking for here? Here we go. And I need this. I've kind of been doing some extra work ahead of time here for you guys and gals, so I'm going to try to go into finding my int main section here. Let's see, where are you? Uh-oh, I think I might have gone too far. I want to tell you something about int main. Here we go. I was going to mention, okay, so we're talking about blocks of code. I'm going to still do the definition of a function. I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but it's a lot of important little details. And I'm going to actually run this as well. Okay. Int main, again, is a function, but let's talk about int main quickly. Int main is a special case type of function. Okay, it's a special case. Right, again, like I've said, to make the magic happen with your own line coding, the stuff that you type, again, anything inside the curly brackets, that's kind of the block of code. That's where all the magic happens. And when you get out of scope, essentially you're getting to this curly bracket, the ending curly bracket. That's kind of like end of program. You're going out of scope. That's at that point when things are kind of being deallocated, kind of off the memory and such. So you'll hear the terms allocation, deallocation when we get into memory and that. So stay tuned. We'll get there. We'll talk about that more in depth in the future. Okay, follow along. It's great to have you. It truly is. Okay, so I'm inside of a block of code. So with the int main, here's a statement. I guess in the industry, right? If control reaches the end of main without encountering a return statement, that's what this is, right? So what I just read there is without encountering. So I just commented it out. So here, obviously, it's going to encounter one. Here's without encountering, okay? So I'll read that again. If control reaches the end of main without encountering a return statement, the effect is that of executing return 0. Okay, so therefore return 0 is not explicitly needed, nor is it required. Okay? So with that said, I'm just going to kind of quickly write this. Int main, again, to be clear, int main is, I'll just put this here just so you guys, whoops, I don't know what I did there, but that's okay. It's a special case type of function, okay? However, the code is written up for this function in the background, right? It's kind of like, we'd have to kind of look at it. You can actually look at peek the definition and such. You could do all those sort of things. If you're interested, you could have a look. We're not going to get into that. I recommend you kind of get more advanced in that so you can kind of read other people's code. Essentially, it's kind of more in-depth code you're going to be seeing. So the int main method is kind of created in the background for us so that it kind of automatically runs our code for us. You don't need a return statement. The reason I'm saying that, anytime you create a new method or function, you always have to, let me do that again, you always have to have a return. Okay. All right. Just to be clear. So this is in the wrong spot. I'm just typing it here. Okay, guys. Int main doesn't need it. Okay. So with what I just said there. Okay. So take note. There are other ones. Floats. Right. This is the data type or method type. Right. Double. Right, for example, they're going to all have returns. So, reiterating, int main, again, is a special case. We can still run and execute this program without the return 0. It's not necessary. It's not required. Some people say keep it in. Others say, like, you got the purists, right? Companies are going to be different. They're going to have different rules, different standards. Every company is going to be different. Same thing with the styles of the way you type your methods, right? For example, you got this style. If I could just hit the right buttons, right? Remember I was talking about this before? With the style with the curly bracket, my style that I'm using now is the curly brackets down below. There are others that are adamant that the curly bracket has to be up. It's kind of a style of writing, right? So some companies, they'll probably be explicit in regards to which style they want you to use. The K&C, I'm using the almond style. It's somewhere in here in my notes. Again, I've already kind of mentioned this. Yeah, there it is. The K&R style. The K&R style. Is it? There we go. This is the K&R style. okay, with the curly bracket there. I'm using the almond style. Again, the K&R style and variants, there's a lot of companies that use that style, right? 1TBS, Strostrup, Linux kernel, BSD, KNF, standard style with Java and JavaScript. Okay, so it's just a style. All right, getting back on topic, definition. What is a function, right? Now that we've talked about the int main function and you guys realizing that it's a special case, right? And it is. Okay, so again, int main doesn't need it. Let me build this and then we'll run it, and then you'll see that this actually, even though it's inside of a block itself, it'll still get executed. Okay, there we go. See, it took a sec, but it did. Hello chat or whatever your name is should change that, but you can see I'm inside another block of code, and it actually, so returns 0. Let's look at the difference. Control Shift B, Control F5, takes a sec, same output, right? I hit E and it kind of gives kind of the path of where this is saved, right? And then press any key to continue. That's why I hit 2 buttons. Okay, so just be aware. There is a reason that we'll do stuff like this when we get into talking about constructors and destructors. I'll show you a good use for doing this. This isn't common to do this, but I just wanted to kind of share that as an example, right? Normally it would just be like this: Control X, Control V, delete, build, run. Okay, it built a lot quicker, right? Same output. All right, Control Z, 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 Z. There we go. Brought it back. Okay. Go like this, go like that, and then I'm just going to get rid of this just to clean things up a little bit. Okay, a function is a block of code that performs some operation, right? Int main essentially is doing that. It's performing this operation, returning this string of characters, returning this string of characters. And essentially it's just kind of waiting. It gets to this here. Right now we're kind of using memory off the stack. You'll hear the term stack memory. So just, have the word in your head. Be aware of it. We are going to talk about more in regards to memory, okay? And what LIFO means and deallocating and all that stuff, okay? Deallocation of memory off the stack. Essentially, it's cleaning things up, right? Cleaning up the memory. We aren't using any other memory other than stack right now. A function can optionally define input parameters that enable callers to pass arguments. Okay, so I'll just write one here. Okay, we're just going to give it a new name. It doesn't matter what it's called. Again, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it Bob's Backyard. Okay. It should have a name for it, but what's it suggesting here? Make this static. Okay, we'll talk about that another day. Static means it's kind of only going to be used in this scope or in this source, right? It won't be a global thing, but we'll talk about that later, another time. We don't need to make it static. Okay, so we can have it return something, right? So normally isn't really done this way, but I'm just typing it here, okay? I am going to show you the proper way to set up your methods. Actually, they're functions, you'll hear functions and methods kind of said together in the same sentence. Don't let that kind of make you worry. Just think of methods as functions. They really are the same. The only difference is methods are part of a class, but it is still a function. Okay, and line and boom boom. Okay, and I'm a new function. Okay, all right. Now I've created this function, and it's going like, what is up? What are you doing? Right? Even if I make it static, it's not going to matter. We still have issues, right? Because this isn't really the proper way to set up functions. Okay? This isn't. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so the reason I created this function is to show you what they were kind of saying in the sentence that I read. A function can optionally define input parameters. Okay, that's what these parentheses are for. The parentheses, now always keep your parentheses beside your function name, but this is where you put your arguments or parameters. Okay, it depends on the function you want to set up. Okay, the type of function. You could have a user input an integer, essentially an argument. Anything that's in the parentheses are called arguments or parameters. Okay, just gonna leave it at that. They can be empty as well. Okay, not all methods, not all functions need parameters or arguments. Okay, all right, so carrying on. So we've talked about main a little bit. So although main is a function, it is an unusual one, okay, according to the course outline. To be useful, a function must be called or invoked. Okay, that's the statement that I was trying to. So listen to what I just said there. To be useful, a function must be called or invoked. Okay. All right, how do we do that, right? So I have this function inside the main. So I have a function inside of a function, essentially, but it's not doing anything. The standard cout is actually ghosted. It's not registering, right? And then you'll be going to yourself, well, I have the IO stream here. Why is it doing that, right? Here it's working here, but it's not working here, right? So that's a great thing about Visual Studio. At least this IDE, I'm not sure about other ones, but this one lets you know when you got some issue going on, okay? Here it's saying new function, local function definitions are illegal, okay? So this is local. What it means is anything inside here is local to the main, okay? All right, so during the course of your program, main is invoked by the operating system. There you go. That's how it's done, guys. Okay, your OS invokes the main. So a program, that's why I was trying to figure out how that's done in the background. Kind of like it's done automatically for us, so we don't even have to think, right? We're not the ones that are invoking the main. The main is what makes the magic happen, right? So the fine devs, they did some coding magic in the background to make the main function, work for us, which is pretty awesome. A program is executed line by line in the order it appears in your source code until a function is reached, right? That's that statement, right? Line by line in the order it appears in your source code until a function is reached. Again, .cpp, guys, that is your source code. Okay? All right? Just so you know. That's what that means. Okay, so this is our source code. Okay? line by line until a function is reached. Well, it's reached a function, but what's up, right? It's doing something. I'm doing this deliberately so that you guys can understand how to do this the right way. How do you set up functions properly? All right, I'm going to show you. Okay. So what line by line means is it'll go line by line, right? And then it'll reach a function. Of course, this is incorrect, the way I got it set up. So it'll go inside the function, do its thing, and then it'll jump back to the last spot in the main. Okay? I'll explain that again. All right, once I get things set up properly for you to see. So then the program branches off to execute the function. Okay, that's what it does. It jumps around, right? It goes line by line once it reaches a function, then it jumps to the actual function, does the magic that the function is supposed to do. Once it's done the magic of the function, then it jumps back to the main and then continues line by line. Okay? All right, so when the function... Then the program branches off to execute the function. When the function finishes, it returns control to the line of code immediately following the call to the function. What the call to the function means is invoking, right? That's what it means. Okay, because your functions must be called or invoked. So when you hear the term that I just mentioned, the line of code immediately following the call to the function. That's what it means. The call to the function means invoke. Okay. A good analogy for this is sharpening your pencil. I guess this is an example. I don't know if it works or not, but let's see. If you're drawing a picture and your pencil point breaks, you might stop drawing. Go sharpen the pencil and then return to what you're doing. Yeah, okay, sure. All right. Again, I think I already explained it line by line. All right, so how do you create a function? Well, we created one. We did. We've already created one. That's how you create a method or a function. Okay? It is an int function. You're probably going, well, why isn't there any numbers or anything? As a matter of fact, since I'm kind of getting into this, we talked about the different types of functions you can have. So this is the function type, int or float. You can have a double, like I said. Okay, these are all these functions require a return type. As a matter of fact, I actually had that function set up incorrectly. Okay? So, let's use a function that doesn't need a return type. And that function is called a void. Okay? That'll fix up later. Let me just see if it'll build and clean up. That's okay. Okay, so that function is a void. A void function does not require a return type. Okay, depends on your variable. Again, remember, if we went into x here, that's defining an argument or a parameter. We would put return x. Okay, so now that you have an idea how to set that up, right? You wouldn't return 0, you would return whatever variable, right? We'll do some more in the future. Okay, so just so you know, you can use void. Void can also return numbers as well. Okay, so it's not technically like think of it this way: an int function or a float function or a double function would have some sort of calculation going on, some kind of multiplication or division, some sort of arithmetic process would be happening. Okay, with a void function you can return a number as well. Okay? You can. All right? So it's not just strictly to text only. Okay? I'm going to keep all this because I'm actually going to move this. Okay? So, I have this in the wrong spot, essentially. Okay? I've created the method. Okay? I mean function. I need to keep calling it a function because in fact it is a function because we have not created any classes yet. Okay? When you start working with classes, then you start calling functions methods. Anyways. Again, they mean the same thing. Okay. So here I have some notes here, at least I thought I did. Okay, there's a couple of ways of doing this. Okay, up here I have declaration of a function. Okay, we're declaring a function. And at the bottom here I have definition of a function. Okay, so remember how I was talking about your line coding essay? Right now we have everything in one source file, if you will, a .cpp file. Okay, everything's all in one. Okay, you can actually break this, like I mentioned before, we could break it into another additional source file plus a singular header file. So you would have 3 files. I'm just doing this for just, simplicity's sake, right? Because we're just starting out, guys, right? Eventually, when you get more practice and you grind more code and you want to advance your skill level a little bit, then you start breaking your code into parts. Okay, for now, there's nothing wrong with doing what we're doing here. Okay, now how do I say this? You could do this in 2 parts or you could do it in 3 parts. All right, so I'll show you the 3-part first, the proper way, the way I do it, because essentially you're going to do it anyways. This is the way I do it. Okay. Going back to talking about our line coding essay, remember, if you've been watching along, this is our intro of our line coding essay. This is our body. Right? This is the body of our line coding essay. And then we have our conclusion. I just broke it into 3 parts just so it's just for you guys and gals visually, just to make it simpler, right? Now bear with me if I'm over explaining, I do apologize. Just have an understanding that, maybe there are those that, need a little more kind of explaining that just so they can understand it better. So just have patience, I appreciate your patience. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so I'm kind of explaining because I want you guys to learn and understand, right? I really do want you to win at this. Okay, so going back to the function which I cut, now I'm going to paste it. Okay, there we go. This is where it belongs. So you can see I have a definition, right? That's what this is. We're defining, definition of a function. So at the bottom of our main, here's our main, if you notice, right? We're outside here's the brother, and here's the sister, curly bracket. We're outside the main, okay? We're outside of it. You can see, right? So I'm just going to bring this back up. So there we go. This is where we put our definition. Here we have our definition. So now what do we do? So I'm going to build this. And let me show you something. Okay, this is the thing about, oh, wow. It actually has no arguments. Okay, but it does have one single message. Function, new function could be made static. Okay, sure, let's just do it, just so the program's happy. Okay, there we go. I'm going to build it again. It's kind of static. Static just means it's going to be for this this file only. It's static to just this file. It means it can't be used anywhere else in any other code. That's all it means. Okay? Okay, so let me just run this. I've got the definition here. Is this gonna work? It did. Okay, but we're still missing something. Okay, we're still missing something. Okay. Now, guys, bear with me. I'm doing this kind of deliberately so you understand the process. So you're like saying to yourself, well, what am I doing wrong? I made the definition. Yeah, I did. I made the definition. I totally did. Okay. Let's look at our notes again. What does it say? To be useful, a function must be called or invoked. Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so all you need is the name. That's all you need. Okay, I'm going to show you. All right, so I'm just going to highlight the name, copy the name, and again, where does all the magic happen? The magic happens inside the main, right? So I'm going to paste that. There we go. Always finish your statements. This is still a statement. Always finish your statements with a semicolon. Okay, let's build that again. Control-Shift-B. All right, new function identifier not found. Man, what am I doing? Oh my goodness. Oh, the humanity. All right, I'm doing this on purpose so you guys can see. That's why I always say line coding is kind of like an essay. You have your intro, you have your body, and you have your conclusion. I kind of look at that the same way. I liken it to the same thing when you're working with functions. Okay? All right, so going to the top here, we have to declare our function. Declaring. What does declaring mean? What does declaring mean? Okay, let me explain. So when I type int variable equals some value, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm declaring the data type. This is declaring. Okay, I've created the data type, or this is our name, okay, of our integer variable. Okay, let me start again. So we need to declare the data type. We need to give it a variable, a name of some sort, right? It could be George, it doesn't matter. And it's got to equal a value because it's an integer, right? So here we're declaring. This is called initializing. So I initialized it to the value of 22. So this value gets stored into the variable. The variable is kind of linked with your RAM or your memory, and it creates a space in your memory. Somewhere in your memory, the computer kind of does its own thing, and it goes, hey, I'm the memory, I'm the computer, I'll decide where this stuff's going to be. So you have this term that's called memory addresses and that. So you can think of it as like a house number. Every house has an address, right? Even a variable is going to have an address somewhere in memory, okay? So not to get off topic, but this is declaring and this is initializing, all right? So the point is we have to declare the function. Oh, okay, I have to declare it too? Oh my goodness. Oh, the humanity! So this is where you need all of this here. You just need the top part here, that's it. And paste it. So the easiest explanation I could give you guys is the compiler runs line by line, right? This is kind of added into your source CPP file, right? This include anything that's in this library is going to be part of your CPP file, right? As you can see, gets included, goes line by line. So what the compiler needs, it kind of needs a heads up. It's kind of like somebody giving you a heads up saying that they're going to go to the store in an hour and a half or something. The program kind of needs that too. It's kind of like this right here is a heads up. I call it a heads up. It's like, hey, program, I have a function here. Okay, the function is here. It exists. Now you know about it. Okay, so the program will go here and it'll go, oh, there's a function somewhere. I'll have to find it and figure it out later, right? So now the program is aware of it, and then it can kind of go to the main and do its thing. And then it'll go here. This is where, so it goes line by line, even through here. Goes out of scope here, actually, in here. It'll go out of scope. And then it goes here to this function. This is the point when it gets to here is when it jumps to here. Okay, it goes, okay, here it is. I found it. So it's going to execute these lines, both of them. It'll get here, it'll go out of scope, and then it'll jump back to here and probably go actually right to here. Okay, and then it continues line by line. So that's what happens. It goes bop, 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 goes here, jumps to here, does its magic here, gets out of here. This is going out of scope here at the curly bracket, and then jumps back to here. Because this is all empty space. It's really ignored. Does not exist. So it'll go here. It'll execute this. It'll go here. It'll do its pause thing or whatever. Return 0, which really is not needed, but doesn't matter. And then at this point, it goes out of scope, right? This is kind of end of program here. Okay. So do I need the static still in front of it? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I can't recall, is it the header that you can take it out of? Do you have to, I think it's the header, okay? Just to be clear, everything that's above the main is your header. That's another word you're going to hear. So that's our header file, okay? So now that I'm talking about it and I've showed you guys, that's our actual header file. So when I create a new header file, all I need to do is just cut all this stuff out and then paste it in my header file. But we'll do that in the future. Stay tuned. Okay, so I think the header file needs the static, and I don't think I need it here, but let's find out. Let's just build it. Yeah. So some things you could omit, some things you could add. Like for example, let's say this function took in a variable, had an argument. Okay? In the conclusion, you're going to need to go int x. Again, it's arguing because it wants me to return x, right? So that's normal. Function, whatever. I might end up putting the static back on. I don't know. So the point is, here we'll have the variable. You have to have it. But up here, you only really need to put the int. You don't need to show the variable. But we'll do more examples in the future, okay, guys? That's just a parameter, aka argument. Let's build this. Is this going to run? That argument's gone. And let's control F5. I don't know. My computer's thinking a little bit more. Lots going on, I guess. There we go. It ran. Let's drop the A's. We just did our first function, guys. Boom. Let me actually fix that up, and we'll create some space here. So remember, I've kind of talked about new lines and enters a lot. So if you missed that, I recommend you go back to the prior videos. I explain it a lot. How did that end up there? Anyways, you can put a new line in front of your string literal, okay, and it works as well. So I'm going to build that. I did that just to create a space here so you can see. Now to show you Okay, let's go line by line here, right? You can see it. We're in the int main. Again, comments are all ignored. This is just notes for you guys, right? Just little information. It's whatever, all random stuff. So it prints this string literal, and then it actually goes into a new scope, essentially, hypothetically speaking. I mean, it's a block of code still, so it actually runs this. So there's a little bit of delay going on when I run this, and then it hits the function, jumps to the function, returns all this. I'm a new function. And then it actually, just like I said, guys, that's actually an integer value. I mean, it's still, technically speaking, text shown in the console, but realistically, that's an integer value. It's not a string or a char, okay? Remember, a string is a series of chars. What's a char? A char is a character, a singular character, and a string. We'll just kind of talk about this briefly. I don't know. I'm just going to call it text for now. Whoops. Yeah, I can. I think that's how it is. Yeah, and then go like this. I am a string literal. Okay, good enough for now. And then I'm just going to go like that. I'm actually declaring it right here. That's what I'm doing. I'm declaring this string literal. It actually gets stored into this variable. It's no different than an integer value, guys, gals. Okay, oh, I guess I should do that as well. Do it properly. I could actually return A and I could return this string, right? Because I've given it a variable. So just be aware. We're going to talk about memory and stuff in the future. This note here, right here, left-hand side equals right-hand side. So anything you declare, this is the declare, this is the initialize. Declare, initialize. Declare, initialize. Declare, initialize. Okay? And everything you do, right hand side equals left hand side, needs a variable. You need a variable to store the information, right? Okay? The variable is essentially what makes the magic happen too, right? Okay? Big yays. How are we doing for time? I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth and stuff, but lots to kind of throw at you. Hopefully it's not too much. Hopefully you're good. Golden. So there we go. So I could change things up here. Right? Essentially, you know, when I run this part here, essentially is what's inside the function. So essentially, this is everything that's returned by the main, and this is the stuff that's in our function. Okay? That's kind of what I'm trying to show you. So there's another way to do this. So that's the 3 part. So intro, body, conclusion. Okay? But you could also do it in 2 parts. So that's 3 parts, right? 1. We got too much space going on here. 1, 2, and 3, right? That's why I do all this extra stuff here, just to show the separation. Again, this is just notes down here I've been kind of keeping for you guys. Okay? That's the separation. But you could also 2-part it. So you could, now the way you do it is up to you. Again, take note, we're working in one CPP file. We just have one file right now. And you can do this in one file. Okay? There's nothing saying that you can't. Because you can. Alright? Just to be clear. So I'm going to delete that as well. Because I've been kind of explaining that a lot. So I think you guys got the idea on that. So that's 1, 2, 3 part. Here's the calling. That's the part I need right there. So let's see if I can find it in my notes. I should have it somewhere, I think. Let me see if I can find some of my older notes. Hold up. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see. I know I have it here in my main kind of my novel. Okay, a function is a group of statements that together perform a task. Every C++ program has at least one function, which is main, okay, or int main. Guys, just so you know, now I know I do my my GitHub a little bit weird. It's not the norm, it's not the atypical way of doing GitHub, but I do have a GitHub, and I actually have most of my novel here on GitHub. So if you're interested in reading my notes and seeing my C++ notes, aka /novel, I have it on GitHub. So it's not all of it's there, but it's there. It's information for you guys, okay? Now my Twitch I don't think has it, but my YouTube does. Darnsky darns. Do I have my GitHub somewhere saved? I actually don't. I'll try to have that for you guys and gals next video. I know my YouTube does. There's a link to my GitHub there. Ooh, I guess I could go to YouTube quickly. See if I can find it there. Maybe it's there. Bear with me, guys. Okay, let's see. Do I have it on here? Yeah, it doesn't look like I do. Man, I gotta get my act together. I have to add GitHub on there, don't I? Okay. Alright. I'll make sure I'll put a reminder to myself. Let's do this. Hang on. Control X. GitHub link. Okay, there we go. All right. All right. Okay. And I'll cut that out. Put that down here. There we go. Actually, that's good enough. Okay. All right. Where were we? Yeah, got a lot of thoughts in my head. I'm all kind of all over the place a little bit, guys. So yeah, my notes for C++, right? I got a good portion of it there on GitHub if you want some extra additional reading. Again, there's more information there than we've gone through. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff we haven't covered yet. So, but you do have the beginnings of my my novel or my book on GitHub. Okay, good reading material for us. Let's see. There it is. That's what I wanted. Okay, right here. Okay, this is what I was looking for. There we go. These little notes. Okay, this is called calling our function, aka invoking your function. So that's how that's done. All right, so whenever you see this inside the int main, that's what we're doing. we're calling or invoking our function. Now, when we get into classes, you're going to see dots, separator stuff, and objects and that. We'll get into that in the future, but for now, we don't have any classes, so we're not creating any objects. We don't need them. We can still execute a function without an object. Okay? I know you probably don't understand what I said there, but again, just when you hear object, just think of a class, if you will. You can actually invoke functions using objects as well. Okay, but that's kind of few more readings down the road here. Okay, a few more videos before we get there. All right, so yeah. Line by line. Hopefully that explains it, right? That makes sense, guys. Okay, here this is just telling the program, hey, there's a method, or hey, there's a function somewhere in this program. You're going to have to look for it. The program knows that it's going to be down here below the main, so it knows where to look. So it'll go line by line, hits the function, jumps into the function. Again, this is now we're inside the function, right? It actually is inside here. Gets to here, goes out of scope, if you will. Jumps back to where it was. Reads this. This is just information that we've given it, but we're not really doing anything with it. It's just there. It'll get here. It'll hit the double. It'll do a double enter. It'll go here, do its whatever it does with the system, pausing, return 0. A return to 0 is a good thing. We have no errors. If you actually get the console to show up, guys, you're doing good. Even if it's a blank, empty console, you've got no issues. If you have the console pop up, you're doing fine. Even if it's empty and there's nothing there, you're still fine. Okay, so there we go. As soon as it gets here, that's it. End the program. Out of scope. And then it pretty much cleans up the memory and whatever else. Okay. So using functions. Functions either return a value or they return void. Okay, I've kind of already been through that. Void's a common one. So if you just want to return strings, basically if you don't want to do an arithmetic calculation, use void. It's that easy, okay? Again, you can return values. You can return an integer, but we're not doing it. There's no, I guess we could kind of here. It's not really the right way of doing things, but we could, technically speaking, do an arithmetic calculation. It does return 40, but when you're doing mathematics or arithmetic functions, recommend you just do an int, right? Depends on what your return type is that you want, right? Integer is just a whole number, right? A float or a decimal is a decimal value, right? Float or double. Okay, and there are other data types. We will get into that. But look at us. Drop the A's. We did our first function together, guys. Okay, getting back to what I was going to explain before, we could two-part this. I just remembered that that's what I was going to show you. So this is 1, 2, 3 parts, okay? So I could actually take this instead, cut it out. Again, we're doing it in just one file, right? We just have one source file. Okay, so you can do this. I could just paste it right here. I could actually do the declaration and the definition at the top. Of course, it wants me to have static. That's fine. If the program recommends that to you, just kind of do it. Again, we're just working in one file, making it static. It doesn't really matter. We don't have any other files going on, so it doesn't really matter. Again, this is just means this is local to this source file. That's all it is. It can't be seen by any other source file, essentially. That's what the static does. So if I build it, look at that, check it out. It does the same thing, guys. Okay? So there you go. You can, if you like, you could do your definition, your declaration, and your definition at the top. So you're basically two-parting. Okay? Remember, if you don't get this stuff in your console, maybe have a look at your int main and see if you actually invoked it, right? You have to invoke your function. You have to invoke it to make the magic happen. Okay, guys? So I'm going to bring it all back because I'm a bit of a purist, I guess, if you will. I always like to three-part mine. Okay, that's just me. And then, to be honest, I don't even do this in one anymore. I actually create an additional source file. That's what this is. If you see this down here, what I have here, it says source code. It's where we make our functions. That's our source code. Anything at the bottom is our source code. So just think, top is header, bottom is your source code. That's why I have this named main, right? I know it's the main. Okay? All right, we'll do that in the future though. We'll break, I'll show you, you guys keep doing the views, you guys keep showing up and keep watching. I'm going to keep doing this for you guys if you like it. I think you do. Some of you like it. I mean, the views on the last video, I'm impressed. You guys are showing up. I love it. So, hopefully you don't mind me kind of explaining stuff. I do, bear with me if I seem like I over-explain. I just want you guys to, if you're at the point where you understand, you can just skip forward, right? If you're not watching the live. Right? You could just kind of skip forward. Right? And then those that, maybe, I'm not saying anything bad. Learning, takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of review. It takes a little bit of grinding. It takes a little bit of understanding. Right? And by all means, guys, that's why people do Python, because it's easy, it's human readable, it's simple to the simpleton. It's simple to the simpleton mind. That's why Python's easy to learn. Now, I don't want to say C++ is hard, guys, because it really is easy. Once you get the basics and the foundation done and understood, it's easy, right? Okay, it does get more advanced. I won't lie, it does. It could get to, even for myself, it's like, oh my God, my brain is full, right? My brain gets full too, guys. All right, but I love it. I love learning. Learning is, again, I'm country and I learn. I love it. Okay, so here we go. Let's continue. Functions either return a value or they return void, meaning they do not return anything. A function that adds two integers might return the sum, right? That's an int function. Okay? and thus would be defined to return an integer value, right? So what I did down here, this is not the correct way of doing it, right? But you can return an integer. There's nothing that says you can't in a void function. But normally, if you want to do a calculation or an arithmetic, let's say it's called multiply or something, I'm just going to go like that. I'm not worrying about typos and such, right? It would take in a user, or you could input the value, and you could go, I don't know, 3 times, let's say you wanted it to be multiplied. Let me do this right. Return 3 times x, right? That's the simplest I could do it. So I would take this, I would go like this. Is it on top? I like to have things in order, so my int is on top. So I'm gonna put it, don't forget to declare it, right? And you don't need the variable, okay? Some things you can get rid of. Oh, the static has to be up there, right? In my header it does. Because it will yell at you. The program will yell at you down here and it'll say, hey, Bob, right? So I have an errors list and I have an output. So whenever I have any issues, I could look at both. If you want to see that stuff, just go view, error list, output. It's right there. If you accidentally close your Solution Explorer, because you can do that by accident, it does happen, just go view Solution Explorer. It'll bring it back. I have mine pinned. I always pin mine at the top. Sometimes, you know, like the Solution Explorer, you need to go in here and do some things. I don't usually do a lot, right? I'll create a source file or a header file. Okay, I'll show you how to do that in the near future. So there we go. So I made sure I declared. If you be consistent and do the same thing all the time, guys and gals, you will be consistent and you won't mess up. Okay? You'll be like, you'll run it and you go, oh, right. Okay, right? Let's say I try to run this, right? Let me just build it. And then it's okay, here it is yelling at me. Okay, but it's saying made static. Right. It's arguing because down here I have it. I'm just gonna ignore it. It's not that critical. It'll still run even if you made it static. It doesn't matter, right? But I do have a problem. So if I run this, well, it actually ran. Oh, I didn't invoke it. See, that's the other thing, right? I ran it because I'm expecting an error, right? I forgot. Don't forget, guys. Don't forget to call your function. Okay, so I'm going to call it. And I actually have to give it a value. So I could actually name this something else. I could call it, I have to actually declare a variable. So I'm just going to take this stuff, Control X. I'm going to put it right here. And we're just going to call these, I don't know, local variables. Okay. Okay. And I need an int as well. So I'm going to call it int trace equals 22, right? Remember, declare, variable name, initialize. Okay. So now the variable here doesn't need to be the same inside the main. Okay, just to be clear, right? And that's not normal anyways, because you actually have to. So we're actually putting in a value now. Okay. Let's see. We should be blah blah blah. What is? Let me just build this. What's it doing now? Int trace multiply blah blah. What? Right. I was expecting errors. I was. Okay. Guys, I did this deliberately. Okay. That's why I'm like, this should come up as a different color. It's ghosted, so I know I have some problem somewhere. The name is correct. Make sure you don't mess up the name. That's why I always copy and paste. because it's easy to kind of mess up typing. So now it's going, it's not found. Read int trace redefinition. Oh yeah, redefinition. Okay. That's what it is. That's what redefinition means, right? So that's what that meant. So this is good, right? This helps you guys debug your own code. You're learning here too, right? We're doing simple code right now. And we got a bunch of errors and we're like, oh my God, what's going on? Oh, the humanity. This is kind of just all... Really, you can ignore these. These are kind of... You got to clear up the top ones here first. So here it says int trace redefinition. So that's my variable name. I could look here and I could go blah, blah, blah. I could read this. Syntax, okay, all right. Int trace redefinition. Oh, okay, I redefined it. So that's what that means. We're declaring. So that's what a redefinition means. So the point is me adding int is redefining it. I don't need to tell the compiler that it's an integer. Right here is where I already told it. It's kind of like that annoying person that, like me, I'm just kidding. Hopefully I'm not annoying. As an example, that person that repeats themselves a lot, maybe I do that. Again, guys, we're learning here. That's why I'm repeating myself. But let's say you're just having a regular conversation and somebody says the exact same thing that they already said, but the person that's listening already understood the first time, right? So the point is I don't need to tell the compiler that it's an integer. I already told it that it's an integer. There's no reason for me to tell it that it's an integer again. So that's why it's yelling at me right here. Okay, it actually went to line 42. Oh, okay, it's on line 42. Okay, good. All right, so get rid of int. So I just got rid of that, so that fixes that. Let me just go Control-Shift-B again. So here we go. Look at that, it cleaned up a lot. Okay, so we still have that static thing. It's not really that critical. We can still fix that error. So we're left with like a couple of lines here. So we still have multiply identifier not found. Okay, so hopefully you guys, if you've been watching and listening, you understand what's happening. What is happening? We do have to tell the compiler, we have to declare it, right? So there we go, boom. So, and again, that static is gone. I don't know, now it went away. I don't know why it wanted it before, but I'm just gonna ignore it. It's not really that critical. It'll still run. So that's how you do an integer, an int function. Okay, so I showed you a couple of different examples here. We've done a void function. Now we're doing an int function. Again, an int function always has to have a return. Remember, we've talked about this. It doesn't matter if it's a double. It doesn't matter if it's a float. They still have to have that return type. Okay? Whoops. Should be fixed. Okay. So we're returning 3 times x, right? So we don't need to use x here. And that's not... Like, this variable could be different, guys. Okay? It's outside. It's kind of outside the scope, right? If you will. This is local to the main, right? This variable. So the variable could be different. The program's smart enough to know, okay, he means x. Okay? The data type has to be the same too, right? You can't have different data types. You see how this is an integer? This is an integer. They have to be the same. Okay? Take note of that. The data type definitely 100% has to be the same, but the variable doesn't. Okay? Because it's outside the main, right? It's outside the scope, if you will, if we could say it that way. All right, so here I'm declaring a variable named trace. The value is 22. This is our argument. Okay. Our argument is the variable. So now it should run. Okay, so let's build and run. So we should get 22 times 3. And did it hold up? What did I do wrong? Oh, return. Hold up. Let me just think of this for a sec. Do I have to actually... Yeah, it's returning it, but I'm not printing it out, right? That's the thing. Yeah, but oh yeah. Now I remember. Okay, I have to actually, in order to display it, I have to create another variable called mult trace. We'll just call it, and I'm gonna equal it to this. Okay. I have to store that value into another variable. That's why I declared it. So now I could actually return that value to the console. Because essentially it does return it, but it's just storing it as X, kind of in memory, but we're not returning it to the console, okay? So I have to actually go like this, and go like this, and like this, and like this. Okay, there. Okay, if I build it, cross my fingers, it should return that value. There it is right there. Mult trace is 66. You can see the order operations too, what's happening. I need a space there. I'm gonna put a colon there as well. Okay, line by line. Okay, guys? And we have our new function underneath, right? So take notes. Okay, so it's going to go line by line. It's going to go, oh, okay, we have a variable that's named trace. It's got a value 22. Okay. Oh, it's got a letter. It's stored A. It goes line by line here. Line by line goes here. Okay. Then it gets to here, and then it sees that there's a function. So it actually jumps to the function. Does its magic here. Stores the value internally in memory. Again, this is not displaying it to the screen, guys. It's just storing a value. It's doing a multiplication process, and it's storing it, right? We still have to display it to the screen somehow, right? So, that's what this line does, okay? So, in order to be able to do that, to display that value, I have to store it into a new variable inside the main, okay? That's why you got this little extra step here. Okay, so then it displays this. I could go like this and add another new line in case I need it. Okay, we'll add one anyways, just why not? And then it's going to get to this function and go, oh, I got to jump to a function again. Okay, so it goes here, returns all this. Jumps back to here, goes to here, returns the double enter, does the same stuff, okay? So, build it again, run, there we go, okay? I do have an extra space, but you can see it does the stuff that's in the main here. That's from the main, this is from the main. This essentially is from the main, but this calculation was done in the function, right? And then it got stored into this variable, okay? And then we got the space, right? Which is this line here. And then the new function, right? It displays the stuff from the actual function and continues on. Okay, so that is, that was a little bit of information. Again, guys, you can take a break, have a good sleep, or whatever you need to do. Come back, watch the video, and go, oh yeah, right? And then the light bulbs will flash, and then the bells will ring, and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's That's pretty easy. Now I understand. I didn't really mean to go into this depth, but it happened. And I just wanted to show you a bunch of different examples. And we are going to do more. Functions consist, back to the course here, functions consist of a header and a body. The header consists in turn of the return type, the function name, and the parameters to that function. That's why I showed you guys this, right? So when I get into the reading, now you understand kind of what's being said, right? The parameters to a function enable values to be passed into the function. Thus, if the function were to add two numbers, right? We did a multiply. It doesn't matter. Add, multiply. I could have changed the sign. Easy. The parameters, okay, let's see, where was I here? The parameters to a function enable values to be passed in a function. Okay, add numbers. The numbers would be the parameters to the function, right? Again, anything inside, right? This would be for our argument. No, sorry, let's say this right. This is our parameter, essentially, and what we put inside is our argument. That's the difference between parameters and arguments. Everything still goes in the parentheses or the brackets. But in this aspect, this is a parameter. And in this aspect, it's an argument. Okay, that's the difference. Right? That makes sense? I hope so. Okay. So I've done an example. You can have more than one as well, guys. We could add another int, right? So in that case, we would have to add y as well. Again, when you're doing coding, guys, we have to use the asterisk is just as a refresher, is our multiply symbol for coding, okay? Obviously, you can't use x, right? Because x can be a variable, right? X can be a variable, right? That's why x can't be used, right? I know in mathematics class, we use x for times, right? But, you have to separate the two thoughts or ideas internally in your brain molecules, right? So when you're coding, the asterisk is multiply. Again, when based on views and interest, guys, we'll eventually get into talking about what else can this asterisk do, because it actually has another purpose in coding. And stay tuned. Hopefully we get there. Okay, so with that said, now we actually have to fix it up here. It has to match, okay? Our declaration must match our definition. Take note that our declaration does not need variables, but the definition does need variables, okay? Just to be clear. So with that said, so now let's go x. We need to create another variable, right? And I'm just going to change the values. We're going to lower them. I don't know. 3 and 8. Okay? We'll just lower the values so we don't get some insane numbers. Okay? And then, so with that said, so now, look at this. Okay, we're working with our int function, right? This is kind of advanced. I'm kind of throwing you guys right into it, right? We're digging right in here, okay? Int functions or float functions or double functions, man, they do some good work. They really do. Okay, so again, these are our parameters, okay? So we also, because we have two parameters now, we also need two arguments. So the reason this is ghosted is because I changed the name of the first variable, right? They have to match. Okay, so there we go. So just to show you, you can also have more than one variable as arguments. Okay, let me build that. So we should get 3 times 3 times 8. So that's 6 times 8, which is 48, right? 72. I can't even do math anymore in my head. 3 times 3 is 9. Did I add those in my head? I must have. So there we go. Big A's, okay? And I call myself a mathematician. Okay, take note that the compiler is never wrong. Okay? So if you get a different answer, just be aware, guys. The compiler is never wrong. Okay? It's 99.9999999% correct. Okay? It doesn't mess up. If there's an error, it's a human error. Okay? Don't be afraid to accept fault. All right? Don't be defeated, but stand up and figure out what you did wrong. Okay? We're just humans, guys. Okay? We all make errors. And the errors are good because that's how we get better. Truly do. How much time are we at here? We're getting up there. We're getting close. I'm kind of taking longer going through the course, but really I'm showing you guys and gals more examples than doing the reading. Okay? All right, let's continue the reading. So you can have more than two parameters, two arguments. A parameter is a declaration of what type of value will be passed in. Again, we used int, so therefore the values that you pass in, that's what we're doing here. We're passing in our arguments. Passing in. So that's another coding lingo that you have to remember. That word, passing in, okay? If some master coder says to you, you didn't pass in your arguments, that's what they mean, okay? And the program will yell at me if I go like that. Multiply function does not take 0 arguments. So what it's telling you is it takes 2 arguments. It doesn't take 0 arguments. It takes 2 arguments. Okay, there we go. Debugging without a debugger 101. Right? You don't need a debugger for everything. Not something that is as simple as that. When you make mistakes, you'll see these errors and you'll be able to go, oh, I forgot to put in my, silly me. You know what I mean? Always laugh at yourself, okay? Nobody's watching. All right, a parameter is a declaration of what type of value will be passed in. The actual value passed in when the function is called is referred to as an argument. We're kind of reiterating here. Many programmers use the terms parameters and arguments as synonyms. Others are careful about the technical distinction. I explained the technical distinction to you guys, so now you all should know the difference between an argument and a parameter, right? It's really not that hard, right, guys? Others are careful about, the distinction between these two terms is not critical to your programming C++, right? It's not critical. You do have to have them in there, though. You do have to pass them in still. So you shouldn't worry if the words get interchanged, right? Again, you got to realize in the coding world, there's purists. They're going to be adamant about stuff. They're going to be like, they're going to look at you like a newbie. Okay? They probably look at me like a newbie. It doesn't matter! I love coding and learning. It's fun. Okay, the body of a function consists of an opening brace, 0 or more statements, and a closing brace. The statements constitute the workings of the function. A function might return a value using a return statement, which we've kind of showed. Again, it's going to store it somewhere. Okay? That calculation is going to return. It's the method that return, or the function that returns the calculation, right? So in here it returns it to here. So whatever happens here gets stored into here. Okay? That's why we have to return this variable in this line right here. Wherever you highlight it, you can see where it is, right? Okay? You just have to kind of do that extra step, that's all, in order to display it to your console. No big deal. Okay, let's see, where are we here? The body of a function consists of an opening brace, 0 or more statements, right? Again, you can have 0, right? Voids have 0. There's nothing being passed in, right? You can pass in like a string variable, if you will, into a void function. Could, I believe. Okay. Yeah. Char is something else too. I could show you different ways of doing chars and strings, but we'll get there. Oh yeah, that's from, I now remember, we're going to talk about chars and strings. And I was trying to rack it out. I was trying to pull it out of the old memory banks about what the difference is between a string. Like, what's so special about a string, right? Right? What is special about this? Why does string get its own include? Okay, think about this, guys. So look at the IO stream here. Hopefully this helps. And it's a little bit, this kind of clicked in for me a little bit, but think about it, right? Inside the IO stream, it's going to have its own functions or methods, right? Because it's a class. Pretty sure it's a class, right? Standard library. The string has its own. So looking at this, it's like string has its own include. Wild sauce, right? I'm kind of doing this deliberately so you guys can understand. So with that said, that means string must have its own functions and or methods. That's crazy. So string is a special case too, in the sense, right? Char doesn't have that. Char is just a singular character. String has its own class. So that's the distinction. Char is a data type. Here's something for you guys to learn. Hopefully I remember to explain this again in the future. But char is a data type, right? No different than an int. An int doesn't have its own class. Chars don't have their own class, but strings do. And the reason I say it's a class is because it has its own include statement. Okay, so that's the distinction, right? That separates char from string. So we are going to utilize some of the strings methods or slash functions. We will in the future. But essentially, I mean, it's called a string literal, but it's also a series of chars. Chars. But it's also a series of chars, right? Each character has a value associated with it via ASCII table, and also each. Now I don't want to get into this now, but stay tuned, guys. Right? Stay tuned. Okay, there's more that's happening under the hood here. Okay, you're gonna just have to stay tuned. Keep watching, following along. It's gonna be great. So just remember, char is a single quotes. String is double quotes. Two characters or more, right? 2 characters or more. String, okay? 2 characters or more, always use double quotes. Single character, single quotes. That's the distinction, okay? And again, think of a string or text or string literal, right? You'll hear the word string literal. It's really what it means. Or bottom line, just think of it as a series of characters, right? Because it really is. Okay, and there's more that's happening here under the hood. But that's another course entirely. That's like a video itself. Okay, we'll get there. Okay, a function might return a value using a return statement, which you've seen, right? I'm just trying to finish up the course outline here. The value returned must be of the type declared in the function header, right? Again, I've already said that, right? The data types, this is a data type, or the value type, must be the same. If you are declaring them as ints here, your declaration also has to be ints. You can't interchange them, okay? They must be the same. The value return must be of the type declared in the function header. In addition, this statement causes the function to exit. If you don't put a return statement into your function, it automatically returns void, which is nothing, right? That's why there's such a thing as a void method. There's no return required, right? Right? You never see return in a void, okay? It's never done. Wrong, okay? Okay. So if a function is supposed to return a value but does not contain a return statement, some compilers produce a warning or will produce a warning or an error message, okay? So you will get that. There's another example here. I didn't quite get through the course outline much. Again, I'm already, I guess, I already kind of know what's up, so I could follow the course outline and do the little course programs that they have here. I believe the main thing was to show you the line by line stuff, what happens when it reaches a function, right? What does it mean, right? Note that a program is executed line by line in the order it appears in your source code until a function is reached, right? You have to have, this is the part where I say think like a computer, right? You have to think like a computer a little bit. AKA, or string literal, you have to understand what's happening under the hood. In quotations, under the hood, okay? It does get a lot more in depth, but now you're already kind of thinking like a computer, just from this statement alone. You already understand what's happening when you execute the main, right? So I will maybe do this little thing here that they have for an example. Then it explains line by line kind of what's happening, but I think I already explained it. So remember, when you create your functions, don't forget to call your functions, okay? If you don't see it being displayed in the console, just go, oh, I forgot to call it, right? Silly me, right? And then you shake your head and then you laugh at yourself because it's kind of funny, actually. Remember the 3 parts when creating your functions? Okay. You could 3-step it or 2-step it, just like I showed. Again, I'm 3-stepping it. 1. Right, here's the second one. Here's our function here. Here's our function here. And then here's the third part, or third step. Okay? Declaration, invoking or calling your function always happens in the main. And then definition. I always do things in this order, right? First thing you're going to do is probably define your function. That's probably going to be the first thing you do. Make your definition, I mean. And then once you make your definition, all you have to do is just copy the header part, if you will, paste it, semicolon, take the note and the difference too. When the definition has curly brackets, okay, the declaration ends in a semicolon. You don't need variables as shown, right? So there you go. It's that easy, right? So I recommend do your definition always below your main. Once it's done, copy this, paste it here, do the second step, and then the third step is calling it. Okay? That's the third step. I'm going to leave it at that. Johnny Whiskey Tango Coding. I appreciate every single one of you guys and gals, you beautiful, intelligent people, every single one of you working towards, if you're not already there, 120 IQ club. Man, you guys are golden. Golden like Freddy. I'm just throwing it in there. I like saying that. Anyways, take care, guys and gals. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for the views. Keep it up. Keep it up. I love it. You guys, remember, you guys keep me going too. All right? Much love. I will see you in the next video. Take care for now. Whoever you are, wherever you are. Peace out. Peace.
Baby, I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand it. My heart can't take this damage. And the way I feel, can't stand it. Baby, I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand it. My heart can't take this damage. And the way I feel, can't stand it.
You